You're listening to Catholic Chicago. Ahead, the Archdiocese of Chicago brings you programs about the people, events, and issues that touch our lives. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Catholic Chicago. We are streaming on your YouTube channel, Catholic Chicago, and you can always listen to our programs on 7:50 a.m. WNDZ, weekdays from 8 to 9 a.m. Good morning again. I'm Cliff Barber, the director of the Black Catholic Initiative. I'm very fortunate. Today we're going to talk about the Kolbe House Jail Ministry, and I'm very, very pleased to have with me two very special people. One, Deacon Pablo Perez. He's the Associate Director at Kolbe House. Welcome, Deacon Perez, Deacon Pablo.
Thank you. Thank you, Cliff. Thanks for the invitation this morning.
And also Bernita Ferdinand, the volunteer jail minister. She's working currently in Division 6. So welcome, Bernita. Thank you both for being here this morning. I want to talk to you first a little bit for our listeners, just to describe a little bit about Kolbe House. And first of all, what's the reason for the name Kolbe House?
Well, the reason for the name Kolbe House was because our founder, Father Larry Craig, when he was a seminarian, he was going into the jail already. But once he got ordained, he realized and understood that there was a need to do a jail ministry officially, and that's when he went with to Cardinal Bernardin and offered him the opportunity and asked if they could get this ministry going, and he mentioned the name Kolbe, the patron saint Saint Maximilian Kolbe, and they agree on that. But then they added Cardinal Bernardin added the house piece, which is now known as Kolbe House Jail Ministry. And the house is because it's a place of welcoming. Mm-hmm. It literally is a home where our brothers and sisters that come out from prison or the family members come here. We're not residential, it's office, but our office are in a rectory.
Right.
So we have couches, we have tables. So that's where Kolbe House name comes from.
Now, Maximilian Kolbe, so you mentioned Saint Maximilian Kolbe. Deacon, what's the story briefly of Saint Maximilian Kolbe, so our listeners know the association of his life and the ministry?
Sure. Saint Maximilian Kolbe, he was a priest during the concentration time, mm-hmm. and he also was in the concentration camps, and he was offering sacraments, confessions, and everything. He was still doing his ministry there. And St. Maximilian Kolbe got to a point where if anyone escapes those concentration camps, they will kill 10 people. Mm-hmm. And they grabbed 10 people, but the last one was a father of a family there. And he said to the soldiers, St. Maximilian Kolbe said, I don't have no one, but he has his family. Mm-hmm. So St. Maximilian Kolbe took his place, and he actually was put out to death. Mm-hmm. So he literally gave his life up for his brother.
Right.
And that's, and also he was incarcerated. So there's so many images of St. Maximilian Kolbe. Then the one that I like the most is the one that has a prison uniform, half of it, and then the other half has the priest skulls mm-hmm. and elves.
And how does the life of St. Maximilian Kolbe, how does that inspire you, and how does it relate to your coming to this ministry, and in some ways what brought you to this ministry?
Yes, it's a ministry that when I first was doing my formation to become a deacon in 2006, I was halfway done, and part of it was doing the jail ministry in Cook County Jail. And that's what attracted me when I did those 30 service hours in the summer of '06, that this was definitely a ministry. If I was going to be ordained as a deacon, this is a ministry where I would love to not volunteer, but actually work. And because it attracted me, that part that our founder, Larry Craig, Father Larry Craig, may he rest in peace, he mentioned to me some words that really challenged me to do this ministry. And that is when he came up to us in the night before we went into the jail on a Wednesday. And he said, when you guys go in there and minister to all the men in there, I want you to see the image of Christ in each of the men there. So for me, that was so challenging because just like a lot of people, our idea or our way of thinking of who they are incarcerated is different. And my mentality, even though I was in formation, it was like, well, it's bad people. It's people that have committed crimes and they deserve to be there. That was my attitude also, as many of us might be or were at one point or another. But they show me different. On that whole summer of '06, I realized that they're just as human beings as we all are. They're all children of God. And the only way I could minister with them is with the eyes of Christ, not with my own eyes. With my own eyes, I would come up short because I'd be somewhat prejudiced about who I'm talking with in that moment. But that's what intrigues me to do this ministry. And actually, I quit my job in '06, in '08, when I got ordained, and a position came out for associate director and also for a staff chaplain in Division 9, which is Super Max. So ever since 2008, I have been doing the jail ministry inside as a chaplain and outside associate director, but also I've been doing a lot of that reentry and talking with the family members. So that is what intrigues me. And as far as St. Maximilian Kolbe, I think his surrendering himself, pouring himself out to give to everyone else while he was also incarcerated like they were, but he was called to do a ministry and he still did it even to the end of his life. Right. So to me, that is what guides me and drives me to do this ministry. Beautiful. The strength and the effort and how he gave himself up for a man that he didn't even know.
Right. Beautiful. Beautiful. And Deacon Pablo, you've been in this for many years. You said since around 2008. But Bernita, you're more recent volunteer at Kolbe House. Can you give me some sense of what brought you to the ministry?
Sure, Cliff. It started like an internal call. Sometimes you feel called to do something, and I identified it as this. And in Matthew 25, the Lord says of those who are looking to enter heaven, the King said, I was hungry and you clothed me. I was thirsty and you drink. I was sick and you cared for me, and I was in prison and you visited me. Right. And so that rang true to me, and I thought, these aren't just slogans or mottos that Jesus is speaking. These are things and steps that we can take in our life today to live out his instructions. Right. So I took it
You took it seriously. But, Bernita, I've been over there, as you know, we work together in Division 6, but when you get over to the Cook County jails, it's kind of a scary environment. Even when you look at the buildings and you see all the barbed wire around there, and it's pretty scary. Did that give you pause when you thought about it? So there's the one thing you read in the Gospels and you feel, you kind of feel the Spirit moving you, but then you go see all the bars and the chains. Did you have any reservations or any fear as you went in?
It was a little intimidating, yes, but I got back to the internal call that I felt. So I, this is something that I'm supposed to do, and it will be okay, and it is.
And what was it like? Maybe just give listeners a picture of what it was like your first time going in, how you felt, and then what were as Deacon Pablo said, kind of what as you went in, you may have had some impressions of what it was going to be like. And then how that may have differed or been the same as what you thought when you went in.
Going in, going through security and all the different checks with the COs, that was something I expected.
And what's a CO?
All the different checks that we need to go through with the COs. But once we arrived in the room and detainees started coming in.
Right.
Just their faces light up and the attitudes, really wanting to be there. And obviously, just like I felt a call to volunteer at Kolbe House, you could see that the Lord is pulling them towards Him. So what is the life? To grow closer to the Lord until we are finally with Him. And they're obviously on that journey, so the Lord doesn't want us to abandon His sheep on the way. So I saw this as a great opportunity, and I was really just moved by the way they really want to be there and grow closer to the Lord, and anything you can do to instill a closer relationship with Jesus and share tools that you may self that should help them cope in the environment, because it's a very serious environment with its own pressures and stresses. And then also to equip them with tools to feel connected to the Lord and accountable to the Lord for when they are released. And just coping in the same type of environment, but with a new mindset. So to help instill that and a closer relationship with God when they're out.
Right. Wonderful, wonderful. One of the things I know, we work together, Bernita, in Division 6, and I've joked before that I have 5 children, and in varying degrees they'll listen to me when I talk about faith. But when I go into the jail, there's open ears, and people do listen to me, and they engage with me. And the men that I see, and it's men in Division 6. I know in other parts of the jail it's women, but I visit men. And these men, they do want to hear the Word of God. They do want to understand my relationship and share about faith. And I find that really gratifying to find listening ears, and even they help me. And Deacon Pablo, I want to ask you, you've been in the ministry for a long time, I know there are lots of needs that the men and women have in our jail systems, but what is the thing you find from a spiritual point of view is the thing which you feel is the deepest need of people across the board when you go visit them in the jail system? The deepest spiritual need.
I think the deepest need for them and for us also is be able to be present to the man, where we could listen to their stories, man or woman, listen to their stories without judging them. And just basically trying to understand who they are as a human being, which for many times or years they haven't been treated that way. And they like you say, they are hungry for the Word of God. They want it, and that is a moment where they're so vulnerable as far as their person, and they let their guard down, and they start seeking the Lord, and they will seek the Lord and find them. First of all, we hope that they find them in their hearts, but they actually see it through each one of us, volunteers, staff chaplains, and any religious person that go in there. They don't see only us, they see the presence of Christ Himself through us. Even though we're going there and answering to the gospel mandate, I was in prison and you visited me. And to my surprise and the surprise of many people, it's like, but He's already there. He's already there. So we think we're going to change and transform Him. And actually, I think it's the opposite. They will change us. 13 years later, they're still changing me.
Yes.
I'm so humble, and it's wonderful to see that transformation of men, because I do minister to them for many years, as long as they're waiting for trial. So I built a relationship with them, and I see from the beginning, when we first met, when we shook hands, or when we said a prayer with them, or we gave them a Bible or any religious devotional, that's how our connection starts. As disciples, that we are connecting and we're taking the church to where they're at, but they are church also. The church is present in there. So it's a wonderful experience for us spiritually, because it completely takes us to a different world, in the world of the men and women incarcerated. The world in there is complete different than the one outside here. And I think many people do not see that side. I think because they don't go in there. I think the only thing they see is those barbed wires and those fences. Those tall fences. That's it. But behind all those checkpoints, behind all those walls, when we come in and we encounter one of those men or women, it's a human being. It's a person that was created by God.
Right, right.
It's a son and daughter of God. That's the spiritual component that is so wonderful. This ministry, and whichever part we will do, it's wonderful because it's feeding into our soul.
One of the things that Bernita and I, when we were in Division 6, sometimes we'll talk to the guys and we'll say, you can be outside of this place and still be in a prison, but you can find freedom through Jesus in your heart. And so that's a wonderful, hopeful message for them, which is even when they're inside those walls and those barbed wires, they can find the freedom. We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about Kolbe House and how what the needs of Kolbe House are in a few minutes after a brief break. Thank you.
As you think about year-end contributions, we at Catholic Charities thank you for considering a donation. 100% of every donation goes directly to our charitable work. Every donation allows us to continue to offer programs and services that affirm, strengthen, and empower those we serve as they work toward becoming self-sufficient. We are financially independent from the Archdiocese of Chicago, and we are proud of our Platinum Guide Star rating as a nonprofit. For more than 100 years, Catholic Charities has been helping homeless, hungry, and troubled neighbors in Cook and Lake counties. We would be honored to have your support in our 2021 year-end appeal. Visit CatholicCharities.net to donate or call 312-948-6087. The number again is 312-948-6087. Thank you for being partners with us in the mission of Catholic Charities.
We are at the Most Blessed Trinity Parish Food Pantry in Waukegan.
And here we care for people in need. There was definitely an uptick in the needs for services.
We doubled our volume after COVID hit, from servicing about 250 families a week to about 500 a week. We supplied bread, tortillas, vegetables, milk, cheese, butter, proteins, fish, chicken, eggs.
Well, the annual Catholic Appeal has been a tremendous help to us, especially over the past year and a half.
Without the annual Catholic Appeal, we might have to close our doors. Our parish is the largest one in the Archdiocese, but is very poor. We think about food and we think about nourishment, but we also nourish the soul, provide that connection to humanity.
The good works here are made possible through the annual Catholic Appeal. Make your gift at annualcatholicappeal.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to Catholic Chicago. I'm Cliff Barber, director of the Black Catholic Initiative. I'm here with Deacon Pablo Perez and Bernita Ferdinand, both part of the Kolbe House Jail Ministry. In the first half, we talked a lot about what Kolbe House is and a little bit of the experience that it's like going into the jails. Incarceration is, of course, there's a big national debate, Bernita, and also Deacon Pablo, around incarceration. And some people think there's over-incarceration. Some people don't think we don't put enough people in jail, and that's why we have violence. And so there's a lot of loud debate about the whole issue around incarceration. But I wonder, from your point of view, how you view the issue of incarceration, and also, do you think there's an injustice here? And also, I guess related to that, how do you think Kolbe House addresses the injustice? So either one of you can take that.
I think Kolbe House addresses it through the eyes of rehabilitation, an opportunity rehabilitate those who are incarcerated. It's a time where you see some inmates really focusing on themselves, almost like a retreat-like atmosphere, the opportunity to focus, read the Bible, pray, get closer to God, re-examine their lives, plan to change when they leave. So to bring those things to mind to them it's a great service. Of course, it doesn't fix all of the problems, but to use jails and prisons as a real rehabilitation instead of not solving the problem and holding people there, and then just not addressing any other pressures or problems.
So I know, Bernita, when we're in there, many people wouldn't consider it a retreat, obviously, because it's very difficult in the jails. But I know we hear from some people that they feel like their life was saved by being put in jail. If they were in the streets, they might have died, but coming to jail was an opportunity to force them to think about their lives. And I know that's we've seen that over and over, people sort of testifying to the fact that coming to jail, in a way, helped them start the route back to starting a new life. And that can be one byproduct of a very difficult situation when people arrive at the jail. Deacon Pablo, what's your perspective on that? Because obviously you've been working with Kolbe House for a long time, and we as Catholics, we as we reminded from the gospel reading earlier, this is an act of mercy towards people. But what do you feel Kolbe House is actually doing to really address the larger problem of why people are coming into the jail, and then also to what their lives are like when they come out?
Well, I think the most important thing is bring awareness to everyone that needs to make a change to the system. Obviously, incarceration, whether it's long or short term, that is not the answer, because all it addresses is the crime act. It does not address the true issue that a man or woman have. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the problem is their addiction. Sometimes it is their mental illness that they have. But for us, when we come out and we minister and like instance like this come to life, and whether it's radio, TV interview, any of those things, that's how we are the voices for them. Mm-hmm. So we bring them to at least the detainees or men and women that have been incarcerated. We work with them on the inside, but it's not only them, it's the whole system, because from the point that we enter to the point that when we go meet with the men, we come across with a lot of COs, a lot of officers. And in my case, I've come across with lieutenants, sergeants, directors, executive directors of Cook County Jail, and that's, for me, that's an opportunity to talk to them about our Catholic social teaching and how truly be able to transform a man or a woman's life, where when they come out, they could actually come back into society and be a member of our community again. But it's not easy when a lot of people are not aware how broken the system is, and we hear that a lot, but mainly how the system breaks the human being into pieces. And when they come out completely broken from being incarcerated in a size of a walk-in room that we might have, a closet, and then they get thrown out into the streets, literally. Because when someone comes out from prison, they come out with their gray sweatpants and a gray sweatshirt and a pair of sneakers. That's it. That how we as a society, how are we helping in that way, or we're not? Because that is not the proper way to let someone release from prison. Right. But yet those are things that happen. So for people that are listening to us, we need to bring awareness to what truly happens behind those walls, and how us as a society, but also us as Catholics, how could we get involved? We get involved at the level where our politicians will make changes, but we need to bring awareness to them also on how this system is not restoring nobody.
And Deacon Pablo, I'm going to ask you a very pointed question around that, because one of the saddest things that I experience, I know when I go in, is the number of times that a detainee will tell me, well, this is my third time, or I was in state prison and now I'm in jail again, and over, and just the trauma that has caused a person. It's hard to to actually realize how deep that runs, the trauma there. What do you think can break the cycle? I don't know the statistics on reincarceration, but does the work that Kolbe House is that do you feel making a dent in the problem, or what is it going to take to sort of start to break that cycle that you just described, of people coming in and not coming out and not being really sort of properly restored, and then in some ways being brought back into the system and almost like a cycle, a vicious cycle downward? What do you think? Does the ministry itself help with that? Is it a government thing? Is it a way we should focus more on a different type of restoration for individuals in our jail system?
I think it's everyone that needs to be involved. And in our case, as far as Kolbe House, what we are trying to do is we're trying to also expand our ministries. And by expanding, I mean by trying to do more things that are impacting directly to our men and women coming out of prison. Complete service wrap around them, because there's a need for so many different things, whether it is medical, whether it's spiritual, and also if there's mental illness. All of those things need to be addressed, and we need to work together as a community, as a service community, to service the well-being of every man and woman. It will take a lot, because for my experience, for someone to truly be able to be productive and not go back to prison, we literally, as far as Kolbe House, that's what we're always trying to do. We literally try to walk with them for at least a year and a half, 18 months. I think in 18 months, wrap around with so many different support systems or social services, that person will be able to break that cycle of him or her being incarcerated. But then it's just like if you belong to a AA or NA, you have a sponsor. And that's something similar to what we will need to do also too. Men and women coming out, they need not only one sponsor, but many sponsors. So they could check in. We check in on a weekly basis with them. And so it will take a lot of effort. It takes the whole, like they say, the whole village.
The whole community,
to raise one person.
And I want to turn, just because I know there are a lot of needs of Kolbe House, but maybe for the last word, Bernita, say a little bit to those who may be considering the ministry, what you would say to convince them or reason why they should take up this ministry.
Take a leap of faith. Get out of your comfort zone. Don't let where you come from, who you are, your past experiences, economic background, different races, don't let that stop you. You're a person, they're a person, and we're here to help each other. And it's really worth your time. The detainees appreciate the focus and that you take, and it's something that's transformative, not only to them but to you.
Right. Thank you so much, Deacon Pablo, and also Bernita. I have the same thing. I know that just showing up is such a gift to these detainees. So do consider whatever you can do financially or else with your time for Kolbe House. Thank you again, Bernita and Deacon Pablo, for spending your time with me and the Black Catholic Initiative this morning to talk about the wonderful work at the Kolbe House Jail Ministry. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.